you can always be proud to be two cultures. You can be proud to be an American, but don't ever give up the heritage that your family brought. So there's nothing you have to pick and choose. You can have both and enjoy them equally. I 100% agree that if you ask someone a question with your authentic heart, 98% of the people will respond positively. However, we have to know there's always going to be a one-off. I can't, generalize and say everybody. And that person could have been a one-off no matter what you said. They just could have been a bad day. So I say take the risk and ask, because you can always apologize. And if someone just didn't want that question, just say, I'm so sorry, and you move on. But when you apologize, we're going to all make a mistake. We are all going to make a faux pas. I just think for the risk of the 2%, I'm going to take the chance of the 98% that will be receptive to my questions.
Well, with that, let's start the show. Welcome to the show, Seema Jain, to the ProTech Podcast. We've got a wonderful show today, and I think that this may be our best researched show of the year. And I had a whole lot of fun looking into your background and some of the things that you've been up to. So Seema, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Love being here. And I know you guys are a great group. My team did some research also on your podcast, and they were very impressed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to roll right into it. Introduction and background. I had a really interesting time looking at your entry into this realm. You've got Seva Global, which is your consulting company, but prior to that, you began by kind of climbing the corporate ladder in Marriott. Tell me a little bit about your time in Marriott and what it was like to essentially be inside of a really hefty corporate environment. Is it what we imagine, where it's like you're inside of the cubicles and there's all this office politics, or kind of like run me through the behind the veil on that?
Absolutely. So my background is not hospitality. I didn't go to hospitality school. I was told by my father that I could be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, or business, because Indian father is going to tell his daughter, these are your professions. So my background is actually business, finance, economics, and did that path for a while. And then in the mid 90s, my parents bought hotels. So I thought, if I'm going to get into this industry, or they're going to put these hotels on me, I really should know what an ADR is or a RevPAR, and had really no idea what any of these terms meant. And our industry is full of acronyms. So took my hand at sales because I thought it sounded a lot sexier than running numbers and finance. And so did corporate sales at a local resort here in Chicago, the Marriott Lincolnshire Resort. And I really enjoyed it. I had a good time until 2008 came and the economy tanked. And that's when I really realized, Tom, that we have to pivot very quickly. If I can't make my numbers because of a recession, I have to think out of the box. And that's where I had a very accommodating general manager who listened to my suggestions. And as we were trying to share shift a group of ethnic travelers, she said, what do you think we should do? And I said, well, why don't we put some ethnic breakfasts, ethnic TV stations, and do things that would appeal to their cultural needs? By doing so, we were able to move 2,000 room nights in 3 months, and RevPAR 3 became RevPAR 1. So that story went up to Marriott, and it went a little viral at corporate. A few years later, they called me and said, we'd like to create a position. We'd like you to kind of run this. And it was a manager of multicultural affairs. So how cool is it that I could actually be an entrepreneur in a Fortune 100 company? So here I get to go creating a whole program of creating these types of ROI and results for other hotels. So at that time, it was 4,000 hotels. And we started with one market and expanded to Chinese, Japanese, Brazil, Germany, all different markets, to make sure that the teams out there in the hotels were successful and being culturally confident when they sell to diverse segments. So that's the gist of how I got to where I am. What do you think about corporate? I mean, now that I'm on my own, it's a very different looking at the other side, right? The review cycles are there, legal, HR. That's just part of the nature of corporate America. When it's me and myself and my small team, I can make decisions very fast. And that is kind of the beauty sometimes of being the small business owner. So it was a wonderful career, really enjoyed it very much. It was just the pandemic, maybe the silver lining that said you wanted to be an entrepreneur and maybe this is your chance. So it worked out
That,
great.
that sounds intimidating. I mean, take me through the day to day. You get essentially approached by Marriott to do this
Mhm.
thing, and then they say figure it out, or they've got something there for you, and then now they've said figure it out, and
Yeah.
you've got this big project on your plate, and you're going
Mhm.
global, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, what do you do? Is it trainings, or what does that
Yeah.
day to day
Yeah.
project base kind of look like?
So, no, that's a great question. I think I have the entrepreneur itch in me from the beginning. So, it was an opportunity to have the platform of a large company supporting me. And I had a phenomenal boss who really just trusted me to say, okay, you get to create this job description, basically. So, once we started with one ethnic group, then we saw the demand for others. So, maybe Indian was the first one. As we know, Indian weddings, if you're familiar, they spend quite a bit of money in our
Hmm.
hotels, and that was something that the market, the sales and catering teams wanted to understand is how is it that we can understand this market and win that business? So what started with that went to, Jewish bar mitzvahs and LGBTQ, and then how do you take care of a Muslim guest? And we just kept growing based on what our teams wanted. And one team might say, hey, I'm learning a lot about Mexico and I want to understand a Mexican traveler, or I'm having Germans come in. So we just built a curriculum that was consistent, right? Understanding the people first and what is important to them, and then teaching best practices, sales strategy, marketing strategy, so that they can take something back to their hotel and implement. Now, one thing is, as being a good Indian, I'm always very mindful of budgets. And I wanted to make sure that what I taught them was also very easy to accommodate with little to no money. So it's right now, Don is finishing, Eid is coming up, and you just want to make sure that you are mindful to people when you're working with them. So that's it. So
So
honestly, it's not intimidating to me, but that was my personality. I found it as a exhilarating experience to be able to create something wonderful for the company. And when you get Arnie Sorensen to come in even for a few minutes, it was just the height of my entire 14-year career.
wow. Yeah, I believe you. I mean, that, and I can see that entrepreneurial spark even in the decision making process that you go through at the end of your time in Marriott, because it's the pandemic, and
Yeah.
you kind of referenced it a moment ago, but you decided to take this pandemic era awakening jump journey,
Yeah.
and to found your company. Um, See, I had a question ready for you to like what inspired your focus, but it sounds like that was just your entrepreneurial spirit. Was there anything else
That's right.
behind that, or did you have family, or did you have what really drove you into that decision?
No, that's great. I think the cultural competency part that I've been teaching all these years of understanding culturals, being mindful, and how it can drive your revenue at the end of the day, right? My finance background came to good use. If I can take a piece of business and have a phenomenal ROI, then I know that's going to catch light for our owners, our general managers, right? They're all looking at those bottom line numbers. So what I feel is because I had fire in the belly and I had passion towards cultural competency, that's what drove me to say, maybe it's time to take this knowledge and now share it across industries and across all brands. So now I have no limit, right? I can touch any industry, whether it's airlines, healthcare, it's IT. Everybody in today's world needs to be culturally competent if they want to drive sales, increase sales growth, or just the customer experience. And I'm sure you've noticed at your hotel, you're working with people of different backgrounds. And you might want to be mindful to how do they want to be taken care of? Not do I want to treat them the way I want to be taken care of, but the new golden rule is how do they want to be taken care of?
And how do people? I mean, I guess that they would reach out to you to go through this process, but say you're a middle manager or a lower level associate that wants to start to be more open to cultural competency. What are some steps that they can take today
Oh,
to start
absolutely.
to educate themselves on this? Because it sounds like it's something that can benefit them in their role,
Yeah.
get them higher numbers on their spreadsheets and kind of propel them into that next step where they maybe might be able to be the decision maker that seeks you out.
Absolutely. Well, one thing is easy thing to do. We've been very blessed. There's always a silver lining somewhere. And during COVID and pandemic, a lot of podcasts started coming out, right?
Sure.
So there are many podcasts, or you can become culturally literate. You don't need to travel physically. There are so many movies out there you can watch. There's shows you can watch, podcasts, so many ways to learn about a different culture. So right now, I just finished a whole bunch of K drama, learned about the Korean culture. I'm on Turkish drama right now. I enjoy learning through different experiences, and they don't cost money. So easy way, increase your cultural literacy. That's one. Another one is talking to colleagues. If you speak with an authentic voice to somebody, let's say they're from Vietnam, and I really want to go to a restaurant that has maybe the best pho out there, how do I enjoy that with this, colleague of mine? So I might say, hey, can you take me to your favorite Vietnamese restaurant? I'd love to experience it with you. Anything we do with our authentic, genuine heart, people will be interested, right? If somebody comes to me and they say they want to learn about the Indian culture, I am going to teach them because we're all proud of who we are. Now, listen, we live in a land of a lot of different cultures, a very high diverse population, which is what makes us so unique and beautiful. I can't say that an American is a typical American. You can't say blonde hair, blue eyes, dark hair, or red hair. You can't. There's just too much diversity, which is what makes us so beautiful and unique. There's so many people at work you can talk to. Again, learning from colleagues. And the other thing is recognizing holidays. So on our Seva Global LinkedIn page, we always talk about major holidays, major global holidays, and we give tips to them of what you can do. When it was Ramadan, you can easily just say Happy Ramadan or Ramadan Mubarak. You can do something simple. We just finished Holi, an Indian holiday. Jewish Passover will come up in April. There's so many ways to just be mindful and make people feel good about their holiday. So simple things that don't require money.
Yeah, that's so cool because I think that like for the longest time, and this is something that I just sensed in hospitality, where there was almost like a hesitancy to ask about somebody's culture, or like it was kind of like a boundary where you kind of felt slotted in and afraid to kind
Yeah.
of cross any lines accidentally.
And
But speaking from my own experience, I love talking about my Polish culture and like
there you go.
letting people know about all of the different dishes when there is a Polish dish that's being served in banquets. I'm like, let me show you what this is. This is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
And I think that it
absolutely.
starts with that energy that you bring about your own culture, and that invites other people to talk about their own. What do you think about that?
100% agree. I was teaching some hospitality students, and I tell them every day, you can always be proud to be two cultures. You can be proud to be an American, but don't ever give up the heritage that your family brought. So there's nothing you have to pick and choose. You can have both and enjoy them equally. I 100% agree that if you ask someone a question with your authentic heart, 98% of the people will respond positively. However, we have to know there's always going to be a one off. I can't, generalize and say
Sure.
everybody. And that person could have been a one off no matter what you said. They just could have been a bad case. So I say, take the risk and ask because you can always apologize. And if someone just didn't want that question, just say, I'm so sorry, and you move on. But when you apologize, we're going to all make a mistake. We are all going to make a faux pas. I just think for the risk of the 2%, I'm going to take the chance of the 98% that will be receptive to my questions.
Really well said. And I think that based on, again, from my own experience, and I happen to live in a state like Illinois and in Chicago, where a lot of the diversity, equity, and inclusion policies of our hotels have been very progressive and forward
Mhm.
minded. And they've had actually really solid programs. A lot of the brands have been implementing things that have a great breadth of knowledge. How does cultural competency complement some of these programs, and how might it
Yeah.
differ from what the
Yeah.
hotels are already doing?
So great question on that. So when I started this business in August 2020, cultural competency, I kind of kept my own swim lane. Somebody asked me, hey, can you start doing DEI? You'd be great at this. But there's a lot of people who teach that traditional DEI, unconscious bias training and this and that. I knew I had a niche because I was the only one in the entire industry teaching cultures to drive sales and elevate the customer experience. I can look at it as the flip side of the coin. You have DL, you have cultural competency. You need both to progress. You do need both. I also feel that, in today's world, administration has changed. Yes, there's some negativity on DI, but the truth is it's a spectrum. There's companies that will take it out. There's companies that are just rebranding it. Honestly, if you look at corporate reports like McKinsey, they all say that diversity will help you become financially successful. And my team is small. It's 7 people, but we have 3, 4 generations, different races, different ethnicities, gender, everything. Because I knew if I kept a diverse team, I'll be successful. I need different perspectives. I want to hear what people think. I want them to challenge me so that I can be a better for my team, for my company, and for my clients. So these two can go hand in hand. Cultural competency to me is also a business case where if people look at it as an investment, they can make money. And that's where some companies look at it differently. Some companies are like, oh, we can't afford this right now. It's an expense. It depends how you look at it. You can look at it, I'll pay money to learn because that Indian wedding is $250,000. It's worth my investment. So I look at it as an investment in my program, not as an expense. That is the difference.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll get to the. I definitely have to pick your brain a little bit on the current trends and some of the things that you're seeing coming up on the future. But something that you mentioned early on in the podcast, and it kind of came up here a little bit more, is that revenue aspect of cultural competency.
Mhm,
I mean, this is a revenue generating activity that
mhm.
these management companies, ownership are going to be able to essentially cash in on. I mean, it's really something
Right.
that they are able to break into a market where not everybody's doing it. What are some things that hotel companies are currently doing in this space that's wrong? That's kind of the common mistakes that you're seeing, and you're kind of trying to correct for and trying to say, hey, this is the better way to do it. This is how you're going to start making some real revenue.
It's funny you say it that way. I look at it as what are companies doing well and who has been successful and
Hmm.
things. I think those that are maybe not as open minded to new learnings could be a obstacle for them. Today I was just on a call with the hotel and I said, hey, I'm doing a DC roadshow. And they're like, yeah, we're all good. We know everything. I said, wow, that's pretty impressive because I don't even know everything. And I teach this every day. And truthfully, we're students for life. We should be continuously learning. I have a great guy in Houston. He has come to my class 3 times and he keeps learning. He goes, but every time I'm learning. So my thing is, even if you've done this, every time you come, you might have a different way of looking at it. One time you might have been the sales side, one time you might have been the event side, one time you might be in operations. It's the way you're looking at it. So companies that are not investing in their people to take this on to elevate everything, I think that is something I have to wait for them to be ready because there's no point. I'll tell them what I do and I tell them when you're ready, call me because I will have a much better success story when they're ready to invest. Now, companies that do it well, here's the ones who take my webinar or in person and they're writing notes. They're writing notes. And the best story I had was, I have many great success stories, but Atrium Hospitality, they're a management company. They had actually taken an Indian wedding webinar. And the gentleman, and he took lots of notes. And literally the next day, he told me, he said, Seema, I couldn't believe it. I listened to you and I took everything that you said, re strategized a piece of business that he thought he was going to lose, came all the way through at a $200,000 contract. So I call that a pretty good ROI. I call that a pretty good. And we get many of these stories every day. So I tell people, listen, I can give you the tools and resources. I can lead the horse to the water, but I can't make them drink it. So that's on you to take the knowledge and do something with it, right? So they have to go back and implement it at their hotels.
Well, I mean, and So you kind of referenced there the little bit about the road show. So that's
Yeah.
something that you're doing right now is your road show. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that. What is the excitement and the drive?
Oh, it has been definitely a big learning for us. So for the last four years, up to our 4 year anniversary, a hotel brand will call us and say, "Hey, can you come in to our market?" And all the hotels for that brand would come to a session. So it might be IHG, it might be Marriott, Hilton, whoever, and we did it for their hotels. My team felt on the 4 year anniversary that we need to do something different, that we need to now own it. And so the Seva Global Roadshow is inclusive to anybody who wants to learn. It can be a hospitality student, it can be a hospitality management company, it can be anybody who wants to learn, they are invited. And that is the beauty of the roadshow, that I own it. What's happened, however, is the first roadshow was in Atlanta, and each one gets better and better as we are learning along. But I love the fact that my class is so diverse of attendees, and it's not just limited. It is mostly hoteliers, but there's a lot more. The beauty of the roadshow is we are now inviting hospitality students to come in. That is our future. And if we can set them up now to be culturally confident and smart, they're going to excel in their careers. So in Atlanta, we had Georgia State University and Spelman. In New York, we had NYU. In Chicago, we had College of DuPage Hospitality Tourism. So everywhere we go, DC will have students from George Mason and Howard, and Florida, Miami will have FIU. So one of my goals is I allocate X amount of seats for them. But here's even the better part. I am now getting corporations, big corporations, to sponsor these students to attend my session. So
Wow.
that is what I call Seva It Forward. Seva is a Sanskrit word. It means the act of selfless service. And when we all do good for the industry, we are helping these students excel and they're coming into our workforce eventually. So we love that the corporations are helping us with the students to attend these sessions.
And you're getting students in, I'm sure, at a good clip. And you've been able to interact with these students. What are some of the lessons that you've been learning from them as you're teaching them what you're trying to show?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll tell you, when you have a classroom and attendees and you have these jet seats there, their energy, their passion, their curiosity, the questions is so refreshing. Because I'll also have someone in my class who might be a 20, 30-year-old veteran and they're getting burnt out, right? Or they've just done this so long. Their fresh minds is so nice to see. And I love their curiosity and just it makes the whole dynamic of the setting very different. So my Gen Zs in hospitality, I love them. I think they're an amazing generation. I have two on my team. They are teaching me every day, every day. And I will always go to them for what do you guys think? I'd love to hear what you think. Just because I'm in a different generation doesn't mean I can't learn, right? I can learn from them. And they're teaching us all kinds of new things, technology wise, or, whether it's AI or whatever. It's just very nice to hear their perspective. And I love having them in our sessions. I think it adds a wealth of knowledge, and they're teaching us new things that the hospitality schools are teaching them. So
Hmm.
I think it's a win win for everybody.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, I don't know if you might have anything offhand, but what are some of the things that the hospitality schools might be doing differently these days that might have surprised you recently?
I wish I'm going to, after this roadshow is done, I would like to go and visit some of them. I'm sure their curriculums have been advanced from
Hmm.
20 years ago. I'm
Yeah.
sure they already have some of these cultural competency, but the difference is our roadshow is highly engaging. So what that means is there's interaction. We do yoga sometimes, we do Bollywood dance, we have some activities. So it keeps the class very fresh and the workshop alive. The foods we present are global street foods. We'll have a little, Indian food, maybe some falafels. We have now the hotels are preparing the menus. So one thing is, this new generation, they're all about corporate social responsibility, sustainability. When they go to interview, they are not about my generation that said, what are your salary and benefits? They're looking for a bigger picture of a holistic company that is offering all these things like, what is your purpose? What communities do you serve, right? What are you doing differently? So, what I love is in this roadshow, we decided I am vegetarian. At home, I strive for plant based diet. We have given the chefs a plant-based menu for highest sustainability that we can do. That we can do. And I think it's really intrigued some of the younger ones because they're all about doing good for the earth, doing better for, where we live.
Yeah, and we've got a it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of different multicultural celebrations for the roadshow. Is there a reason behind that? Why are you guys, kind of bringing that forward?
So, one of the reasonings is that despite recession, pandemic, administration change, despite all that, people celebrate. And you see that in any recession or pandemic. So, for example, in the Indian world, parents save for two reasons: education and weddings. That's all we've saved for our whole child's life. So, whether there's a recession, inflation, anything, the wedding's still going to happen. The wedding's still going to happen.
Mhm.
So, the reason we picked this curriculum of social events, now everything is transferable. If you learn about a culture, you can easily say, oh, wait, I have a large Indian business group coming in. I understand why they negotiate so hard, right? It's not all about weddings. It just happened to be that weddings is such a big part of a social market, social catering, that I wanted to help people understand that so they were confident. So we picked these three because we knew that whatever happens, these are three things that will always be, or these type of social catering and the um, uh, events that we produce and things in hotels are generally recession proof. Nobody's going to say, I'm going to cancel my wedding because there's a recession.
Right.
That
Yeah.
doesn't happen very often. So, I think of some of these events as mini corporate events, right? At the end of the day, they have room blocks that are high, they spend F&B. There's things. What I want to make sure is our teams are set up for success. But I did have people come to the class, corporations, they have a hospitality division, so they wanted to learn. So they had the jargon of how to talk and what is knowledgeable at a operations level as well.
So the companies are giving back now by sponsoring these students, and you're encouraging these companies to give back. And kind of giving back seems to be a large part, especially in the name, Seva Global. Um, I know that there are a few other initiatives that you're also doing in the background that are not necessarily always hospitality focused. I noticed during the research that you're doing a animal love and arms organization project. Tell us, what is that? What is this project and why is it important to you? And what you've got so much on your plate already. What brought you to the idea of, let me divert some resources to this too?
Yeah, absolutely. So, about a couple of years ago, we have a Jain organization, which is a religious group, and it's usually there for cultural religious purposes. And Love in Arms is an organization located in Denver. It's basically, teaching people that you can be uh, not harmful to animals and taking care of them. So it's a farm. It's out in Denver. It's a beautiful farm. And our thought was maybe we gather kids to do sort of like a camp out there or like a little retreat out there to learn a little bit more of how to take care of animals, how we can, lead a plant-based diet and still be healthy. So we had put these programs together, and they did one, I think, last September with some of the older youth population that was more like 22 to 30 years old, and just 10, 12 kids coming together, I should say adults, not kids, coming together to learn. And they have a common theme of everybody wants to do good for the world, and everybody was trying to understand how do we can also be vegan, how can we do this and have sustainability. So that's how that program started. If you ever get a chance and you're in Denver to visit Love and Arms, let me know. The owner out there would love to have you come and experience. But these adults who had gone out there for this retreat, got to learn a little bit about, how do you put the animals to bed, and, just being on the farm, just having that compassion for animals.
I'm finding a common thread in this educational um, mindset. It seems like you could have been a teacher, like you could have been an educator.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
made you choose to go this consulting route as opposed to teaching? Because I can definitely see in you, like, it seems like you could be a professor.
So funny thing is, my father was a professor. He went to
Mhm.
Columbia, New York, and did his PhD in finance. So he did finance, stats, and accounting as his when he was a professor. And then he went to corporate America in the late 60s. I've always probably had that teaching drive. I didn't realize it until this year when I realized with these students coming into our session, and like, what have I been doing for the last 10 years? I'm helping teens, educating them so they can be culturally knowledgeable. So sometimes we joke and say Professor Jane in the house or something like that. But um, who knows? One day, I think when I win lottery, all of this will be done for free. And I would love to touch every hospitality school and bring these programs to them. So that would be my eventual goal, is to do that for the schools, to do that for the schools. So it's still on my bucket list to be a professor at some point.
That's awesome. I mean, so with our eyes on the future, where do you foresee this cultural competency and hospitality going in the next 5 or 10 years? I mean, especially with the current need for leadership in the sector, how does this evolve from here? What's the next step after this current initiative?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think it has to keep going. Our diversity of our customers, our guests, even the people we work with, they don't all look like me. Everybody looks different. I think if we're not smart and we don't become culturally competent, you're going to lose business. You're going to lose business to your competition, is what's going to happen. So I think it's definitely going to happen despite the administration. It's not changing that we are in a country where the landscape is so different, right? It's a highly diverse landscape, which is a really nice thing about America, that it is a melting pot. It's been that way for years. So I do think the smart companies will take cultural competency and use it to educate their teams. I do think so. I mean, we do more than workshops. We do e-learning series. We'll create those for customers, keynotes, breakouts, different things. But we can take one topic of cultural competency and we can pivot it into so many ways across so many industries. So I
Yeah,
do
'cause
think it's going to be
oh, so sorry. I did not mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
fine.
I was thinking because just on that thought, I mean, with so many, because this administration that's currently in the Trump administration is seemingly doing a blanket cut of anything that even looks similar to a diversity, equity, or inclusion program. It's not just DEI, but it's just the shotgun approach of like just cut that from government. And historically, private sector tends to follow government action. Um, so, what is the role of DEI in the private sector today? I know that what you're doing isn't exactly DEI, but it seems as though if you had a government contract, I'm sure it would have been lost by now. So, what does that look like, and what's the need for leadership inside of this sector? Is it going to continue?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. This has been on our line since January 21st when he came out with all his, cuts and everything. And initially, I think there was a shock in the system for everybody, right? Like everybody kind of got nervous. People were holding back. They weren't sure. I think things are getting better. And you know what? I'm not going to go anywhere. I'll tell you right now. Whether he does what, I don't have government contracts. Mine have both been either nonprofit or mostly corporations that I work with. I believe in what I do. I think those who are in my space will, and I'll just end up finding customers who believe it, who understand that it is good for business to understand different cultures. So those who will resonate with that, I will be working with them. And when those who are ready, I will be there for them as well. So I do think, however you want to call it, DEI or whatever word you want to use, it's just how you feel. I have a lot of companies that are still keeping it. There's obviously ones that have not kept it, but I think it's a spectrum. It's just, I think people realize that you do need diversity, like as far as you don't want everybody in the company to look like you. That would not be profitable. You need that diverse lens and diverse perspectives. I don't know, what's going to happen, but I kind of take it day by day. And being the founder and CEO of a company, you pivot, you just adjust as you need. But I'm looking for those clients who do believe in this and see it as a ROI and an opportunity to do good work for whether that's employees that are diverse or your guests or your owners or your vendors that are diverse.
Yeah, you're finding companies with shared values, and I can see that founder mentality where it's like it's a sales approach, and it's inclusive approach really, where you're
Correct.
bringing in these other companies and just saying, hey, listen, this is going to make you a lot of money. So if you want to make money, follow me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well, and
awesome.
also I think it's I want those customers who believe in it because then they will have a success. If they're not successful, then it doesn't look good on our company. So
Mhm.
I don't mind not having 1,000 customers. I would rather have a handful of customers that really care and believe in it that are going to do well. So it's not about always the quantity, it's about high quality customers that are actually believing in this. And that's more important to me. And I'll tell people, they know I'm not a strong, I'm a good salesperson in the sense of I can read it. If you're not interested, totally fine. I'm not going to push. You come to me when you're ready. Now, what I do see happen at times when there's a faux pas and they made a mistake, then they will come running, right? What I'd like to avoid is instead of being that reactive, I would much rather they have the proactive learning and not have a faux pas. So at times, yes, we made a mistake with this kind of group. We need you to come in and educate everybody, right? And that's fine. But if they can think a little bit more proactive and more forward thinking, then educating everybody early on will just set them up for success.
So this is funny as we got started. It kind of relates in that it's forward minded, but tell us about your word of 2025 and why
Oh,
you've chose that word and what that all means to you.
yeah. So every year you got to think, what is that special word this year that is going to help us? And I think this year it was impact. Our goal is to make an impact on people, right? And to have them open up their minds, even just move that needle 1 degree to a positive direction, I've made an impact. I'm not looking to change someone overnight. I'm just asking people to be open minded and just move it a little bit. So if we make an impact, whether it's to the hospitality students, whether it's to our customers, whoever, one thing we do at Seva Global, and you were asking about that word Seva, when we started, it was about giving back, right? Just your traditional Seva giving back, where you can write checks to different organizations. Then came Save It Forward. How do we pay forward, right? Kind of like pay forward to organizations. As I've been very blessed that I've had a lot of support as an entrepreneur, I want to give forward to future entrepreneurs. So if someone calls and says, hey, can you help me? I am going to drop everything and help an aspiring entrepreneur because I had a phenomenal support system. Now, one thing we also implemented last year, which we're continuing this year, is our Seva events. These are events where we are helping the communities we live in. So it is Juneteenth, we started, and we did something in Southside Chicago where we were able to feed homeless people down there. Then we also add an educational component. What does Juneteenth mean? We support Black business owners that day. Then we did it for Hispanic Heritage Month. We did something in Atlanta. Tomorrow night, I have for Women's History Month, Women's International Month. We are doing something with Wings, which is a domestic violence center, and we wanted to take care of people. So, small event, not making it a big deal or publicity, but just to say, how do we keep helping the communities that we serve in? And what can we do to save it forward or do something, save it together? My clients enjoy these events very much. Those who like it are, again, those who seek the same mission as I do of taking care of others in a very authentic way. So these are things that we do. We also make sure one thing that as I am a small business owner and I can't afford everything, I make sure if somebody comes to me and they can't afford my fees, either I find a solution for them or I refer them to someone, but I don't ever want to leave somebody hanging. So I want to make sure they have an option. If my option's not correct for them, let's find an option. And that means referring them to somebody. I am perfectly okay with that. I'd rather they seek the knowledge and gain that than having to, work on a budget with me. So that is something we try to do is make sure there's inclusivity to everybody who wants to learn. I kind of think of it as a healthcare system. You have the PPO, HMO, Medicare, Medicaid, right? We have different levels. Well, I have corporate America, then I have nonprofits, then I have small businesses. So I have to be inclusive too on how I rate or how I price things because I don't expect a small business owner to pay the exact same as somebody at a large corporation. So I want to adjust to make sure I can help everyone. So
Fantastic.
impact is my word for the year. So
I think that was a lights out, impactful answer too. And
there you
I
go.
know that any entrepreneur or any small business owner is always looking at the services that they offer. And I love the way that you approach it, where it's like, hey, listen, if it's not something that you can necessarily do, I would love for you to be a part of this still, and just
Yeah.
kind of open up the door for them.
Yeah.
So Seema, how can people find you, and where can they look, and what's the what are the next steps that our guests and listeners can take if they're interested in hearing about
Yeah.
more?
So we pretty much do only one social media, and that's LinkedIn. I try to just do a really good job on one platform. So there's a Seema Jain page, and there's a Seva Global page. The Seva Global page is designed to give you cultural tips or holiday information or clients that have done some great work. I might push it on that one. My post, and if you've looked at those, I'm sure you have as you've been doing your homework, they will be more about like, okay, maybe the road show or this event that we just did. So following us on that, you'll find a lot. Going on our website, you'll see the different services we offer. And if you just want to have a chat to see if your company is ready for this, I'm happy to do that too. So LinkedIn is the best way to keep up with me. I'm available through WhatsApp, text, email. I keep myself very available to my clients. I tell them my hours are 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. because that's an entrepreneur's lifestyle. But, I want to be there for them. And when somebody has that itch to learn, it's my joy and passion to help them. So that's how I, get through my days. I don't find what I do to be work at all because I truly enjoy what I do.
And we have two upcoming events that are happening soon. If you're in the Washington, D.C. or Miami, Florida areas, you'll have the chance to register and check out a couple of these roadshow programs. I'm going to throw the D.C. one up first. Let's throw it up here on the
Perfect.
screen. What people can expect from these shows if they decide to attend.
Absolutely. What they should expect. First, they're going to expect a super fun day because if you can sense my energy, this is how we are for the 8 hours. We love it when our attendees come and they said they didn't even look at their phone. They were just so engaged. We want to present the way I want to be presented to, right? Interaction, lots of Q&A, but each session we decided that the beginning part of each session is to understand the values of that culture. Understand who the people are. One thing you can think about is when you have children and you're teaching them how to read a book, right? You can't give them a book and say, read it. You have to teach the ABCs, the sounds, you formulate words, you create a sentence, and then you have a book right out there. So same with cultures. I have to get you back to understanding core values of cultures so that when we do a Jewish bar mitzvah or an Indian wedding or an LGBTQ event, you understand the thinking behind that customer. So here is one of my favorite books. I should just walk down to you in the book and give you this little care package. How's that? So this is an
Love it.
example. I'm just going to walk down on a nice, gorgeous day and just say, hey, I'm here at the Crown Plaza. Here's an example. I give these as gifts a lot. This is Namaste Delhi, small book that actually a friend of mine wrote with an artist. But if you look at the pictures inside, very colorful, right? So what we encourage is that if you cultural competency and the literacy can start at a young age, so we want children to start now so that when they get older, this is just part of their DNA, who they are.
Yeah.
They are already trying new foods. They're already watching different TV shows. They're already reading different books. Is your child's library of different authors of different backgrounds? So these are little things to keep in mind as well. So I definitely encourage that, starting at a young age is a good thing, but our class is designed to have understanding of core values before we proceed into Indian weddings, Indian meetings, working with an Indian customer. Each class has always some interaction going on as well. And, I think they have a really fun time. So we've been getting some, great feedback. And as we do receive feedback, we try to improve it continuously. But I encourage you all to try the DC show or the Miami one, and hopefully you can make it to one of those.
Guys, the links will be in the description. There's links, right? There will be links inside of the description. So you guys will be able to click those links, register.
Yeah.
I highly
When you see
recommend
the
it.
flyer, you can do it. Yeah.
Yes. It sounds, I mean, I'm jealous that I won't be able to attend the DC event in April. But I'll be sure to check out. Are you going to do a future roadshow, do you think? 2026, 2027?
Yeah, so right now, May is going to be my reset month because it has taken a lot out of our
Sure.
team, to
Mm.
learn all this. And it's been great learning for us. May will be a reset to decide what we want to do in the fall. So remember, I timed these with the school semesters because if I want the future to come into my class, I can only do it January through April, or I can do it, in September through November before finals. So I will think about it, and if there's a city that is burning to have us come, of course, we can talk to them and see how we can make it work out. How we can make it work out. So it's good.
Nice. Seema, it was such a pleasure to learn all about your organization and some of the things that you're up to. Thank you for joining the ProTech podcast, and we look forward to chatting with you again sometime soon.
It was my pleasure. Thank you guys so much. It was fun, and I hope I was able to answer all your questions that you wanted.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so